This is Moshe coming to you from Israel and the Galilee with a lot of big news today. Two more U.S. big bombers on the way to the Middle East. B-1 supersonic bombers, two of them on the way to the Middle East. 12 B-52s and about 8 B-2 Spirits and perhaps as many as 24, 25 refueling tankers, all at the Diego Garcia base belonging to the UK in the Indian Ocean. And Iran told the Telegram newspaper in the UK that an official of the Iranian regime told the newspaper in the UK that they have been told to prepare for a preemptive strike on the Diego Garcia base where all the American planes are. Iraq is getting ready, moving missiles around to strike American bases. Trump told Iran what he said is that they were going to keep striking the Houthis in Yemen harder and harder, and they were also going to hold. Well, he was stronger than hold. He said basically words that mean they were also going after Iran, their sponsor. Okay? This attack on Iran can't wait anymore. There's approximately 30 warships in the area near the Persian Gulf, predominantly American. The Houthis took down another Reaper drone yesterday. That's number 16. They took down 16 Reaper drones. These things cost a fortune. Last night, America bombed the Houthis again. And I got a problem with my charger not being plugged in. I got to deal with that. Hang on. I don't want to knock the phone down. This is my fault, plugging it in. I gotta trace the cord. I got all these cords here for all different sorts of stuff right now. And that's this cord. Now, hang on a second. And I gotta track down this charger cable. Hold on. Sorry about this. The thing's under something. I gotta track it back from the plug in the wall. And then I'll find it. Got it. This. All right, I'm almost there. What do I need to get? Got it. Sorry about that. I'll give you an update on my equipment journey, which is encouraging, actually. Oh, all right. There's a lot to unpack here. I'm going to go through all of it. So Iraq is getting ready to attack American bases, and rest assured the Houthis will be attacking whatever American bases they can get. Jordan, Saudi Arabia, maybe the UAE are likely candidates for the Houthis. The supreme leader of Iran, as he calls himself, the Khomeini, said that he would attack 10 U.S. bases with 50,000 American soldiers or military personnel. He also said he would attack America proper and other assets. The amount of missiles that the Iran has is probably at least 250,000. I don't think they could hit America from Iran, but they said they were going to hit the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America and the Caribbean, and it appears they transferred missiles to Venezuela, and these missiles could hit Florida bases from Venezuela. What's going on with Cuba? We don't know. I don't know. I'm sure Trump knows. So I'm going to jump into the live stream now and make sure we have sound and picture, and then we'll get going. Well, I see picture. Let me check my own volume. I'm not getting sound. I don't know what's up. I had the volume up. Well, I see picture. All right, we got volume. All right. I'm going to put some posts up in the chat. Very quick. Give people a chance to come in. Now I just want to get my email address up for prayer requests and questions or whatever. Now you can put questions in the chat. I do check the chat during the live stream, and you could also email questions or prayer requests or toss requests in for more privacy. Give me the two initials of the person you want the prayer requests or toss requests directed for or at. Okay. Had a lot of people come in and go out. About 7, I think, or 6 or 7 or something like that. It's probably because they were trying to post their obnoxious comments and they realized they're blocked. Okay, I've got everything up. Now I'm going to do some praise and we'll get going. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right, I promise you guys an equipment update and I will explain what's going on. I did get the Samsung S24 Ultra running yesterday. I got everything pretty much logged in, and it has a YouTube app that I think I transferred from my other phone, the other Samsung, the one I'm broadcasting on. And it works, but it doesn't have any button for live streaming. It tells me there's something, it's still unloading it, or I don't know what. So I have to spend some time today for the third day trying to figure out how to delete this and reinstall this video, which I couldn't do. Hopefully today, or worst case tomorrow, I'll have the new Samsung tablet, the S10 Plus, and I should be able to get that up and running by transferring data from the old Galaxy phone to the Samsung. I think it'll be easy. I'm not sure. I'm going to try. What's next? I got the MacBook Pro running. What worked is buying a block, a power block where you plug in USBs, and it worked. It charged the MacBook. And I had it on, but I wasn't able to live stream on it. It was telling me to send streaming software. So what I think I need to do, it just came back to me. I need to go log into YouTube on Chrome and send it on Chrome. That's what I remember I used to do. So I got that as a temporary fix. It's unbelievably difficult to get these phones set up today. I never saw anything like it, you know. Unbelievable. The security checks they go through, it's just insane. I got the QR code from my carrier put in there for the phone, and that made things much easier. But oh my gosh, I'm still not done with it. I don't know how to live stream on YouTube yet with the new phone, so I got to figure that out. Okay. Israel, but let me just try to give you everything that I know. I've been working on this for several hours already. Israel's still attacking Lebanon, targeted assassination last night, and probably some other things. I didn't hear of us attacking Syria last night, and we did attack Gaza. They tried to do a launch into South Israel. It failed. It was intercepted. The Houthis keep trying to shoot missiles at us, and we take them down. Their goal at this point is probably multifaceted. The big one is they shoot missiles at Israel, knowing we're going to sound the red alert and 1 or 2 million people are going to go to the bomb shelters, and we're going to take the missile down. The other thing is they probably have a learning path, and they're trying to modify these missiles to see if they can get them to land in Israel and blow up. They keep talking about attacking the Ben Gurion airport. They never hit it. they push the launch button out of Yemen and say, oh, we attacked the airport, but it never gets anywhere. It doesn't do anything. We take them down. But it stresses out Israel. And next, it also shows Trump that they are still capable of fighting after, what is it, at least 2 weeks of daily attacks. Okay. So Trump is, telling them that we're going to continue. If you don't stop attacking our ships, and they don't want them attacking any ships or Israel, we're going to keep bombing you. And it's going to keep getting worse and worse. Now, without using 2,000 and 5,000 pound bombs, Trump is probably never going to completely stop the Houthis. They'll keep slowing down. There'll be days where no missiles get launched. I am of the firm belief that Iran still has warships in the Red Sea that are guiding and directing these missile launches from the Houthis. Although Trump has never said that, I'm sure he's aware of it. At one point, he did say that they had 4 warships in the Red Sea. Iran did. If he sends the B-52s, the B-2s, and the B-1s to Yemen first, which I believe he will, they will attack caves in mountains and other natural hiding places that is in Yemen, plus underground facilities where they're keeping missiles and drones. And if there's any radar left, I think America took it all out. They'll continue to take it out. When the time comes, the Iranian ships in the Red Sea are going to go to Davy Jones's locker. They're going to go down. Day before yesterday, they moved an undisclosed amount of A-10 warthogs to the Middle East. We don't know how many. I believe they went to Qatar. And the amount of crew members, airmen, to accompany these ships to maintain them, gas them up, keep them going, probably pilots and so forth, worth 300. So I don't think they sent, 5 or 6 A-10 warthogs. I'm thinking they probably sent 2 dozen or something like that, maybe 30. Or at least 15 or 20. And they've already had A-10 warthogs here, but they don't tell us how many. The A-10 warthog is a slow-moving plane. It goes about 450, 460 miles an hour. And it's designed for ground attack. It predominantly has a big cannon, which has several barrels, kind of a Gatling gun kind of thing. And they could shoot 20 millimeter, and I think some shoot 30 millimeter. The 20 millimeter is like a junior artillery shell. 30 millimeter, I think, is approaching a small artillery shell. These things can spit out about 3,000 rounds a minute. And the range of the 20 millimeter is 5 miles, and you can have explosive rounds. You can have incendiary, which means they burn, they cause fires, and armor piercing. The most dominant combination is armor piercing incendiary, which is used to pierce armored vehicles. Also, it can be used to knock down, let's say the houses are hiding in a building with big, thick concrete walls, 4 or 6 inches, or something like that, brick building. You turn the A10 Warthog on it, and it's, I'm sure, radar controlled, laser controlled, all different things. And you start bursting some rounds into the building, and you just take the building down. You could dig soldiers out of a trench even with a 50 caliber. Yeah. If they're hiding in, they dug a trench, you just start shooting in front of the trench, and you remove the dirt, and then the bullets go into the trench. They got to run away, take their chances. So the A10 Warthog would be used to attack troops and armor. And, trucks and gasoline trucks and a base, whether in, tents or regular, buildings made out of wood or something, although it can hit heavy buildings too. And it comes by, and the pilot just pulls the trigger, and it sounds like, and it'll spray 20, 30 rounds like nothing. And that's devastating. Now, can they use these things to do things like take out a railroad? Yeah. Yeah. How would you do that? Well, you could hit the locomotive. You could hit the guys driving the locomotive. You could just hit cars and get the car to fall apart, a railroad car, and the chances of you derailing the whole train when one car gets disintegrated is, 90% or something like that. It's extremely high. Now, will they use them on the Iranian ships? I think they will. Iran has over 1,500 go-fast boats. They have recently deployed 250 of them by the Straits of Hormuz. These are 60 to 80-foot boats typically. They're modified private go-fast boats. They go anywhere, probably some go 50, 60 miles an hour, some might go 70, 80, some could go 90 miles an hour. I don't think they get up that high. They're probably running in the 50, 60 mile an hour range. And if you go too fast, you lose your stability and you can flip the boat and everything. Plus, the boat's weighted down. I don't think they can get them going that fast with all the equipment. They mount what appears to be 50 caliber gun on the boat, on a stand riveted in with a base plate into the boat. And a guy stands there and fires the 50 caliber, which doesn't appear to be radar controlled or anything like that. And it's a good trick to be able to aim a 50 caliber accurately while you're moving 60 miles in the water. How about that? But if 25 of these approach a ship and they train their 50, they shut their engines, train their 50 calibers on the ship, they could shred the ship. Assuming they have armor piercing, although you probably don't even need it on most civilian ships. You're not going to get through the hull, but anything, the towers where they control container ships and stuff like that, they could go flying through that with their bullets. Could they take out an American destroyer or a missile cruiser or aircraft carrier like that? Sure, if they ever got close enough. So their idea is a swarm attack. So if for some reason, 75 of these go-fast boats approached and got close to an aircraft carrier, what's close? Quarter mile, even half a mile. They would destroy the aircraft carrier. They would spray the aircraft on the deck with 50 caliber rounds causing fires that would hit the conning towers, which have a lot of windows and not going to hold up against a 50 caliber very well, especially if it's armor piercing and especially if it's continuing to hit the windows. Armored glass or bulletproof glass can work against heavy rounds fired against it, but it can only take so many, then the glass gives in. Now, 50 caliber round, well, if they were going to stop a 50 caliber, the glass would probably be about 8 inches thick, 6 inches minimum. And I doubt they have that because the distortion that the control tower personnel would experience with such thick glass would be difficult for them to do their jobs with controlling the aircraft. So I don't think they probably would be able to resist rifle fire. Now, these go-fast boats have torpedoes on the deck of the boat, and they launch them into the water, then their engines on the torpedo kick in. And the way they would guide these torpedoes is predominantly by steering the boat. So if they got, let's say, 1 or 2 miles away from a 385-foot boat, would they be effective? Not really, because the destroyer or a missile cruiser would outmaneuver the torpedo. Maybe they have a wire-guided torpedo, but I seriously doubt it. It would evade it. Okay? They also carry shoulder-fired missiles, like anti-tank missiles, which can be used to shoot at a ship. Again, you're talking 1 or 2 miles, pretty much. Or if you got 30 or 70 boats and they're firing anti-tank missiles at the aircraft carrier or the destroyer, some are going to hit for sure. And if you can penetrate a tank, you're going to have a good chance of penetrating some of these holes, the sides of the boat, and everything above the deck of the boat, you know. So all you got to do is start fires. So the A-10 Warthogs would probably be very effective against these go-fast boats, because you don't have to have speeds of 1,200 miles an hour. That's actually not advantageous. So these go-fast boats have no air defenses to speak of, other than the guy takes the 50 caliber and tries to shoot it at the plane. Good luck with that. You know, if they shoot at, 100 Warthogs, they probably will bring down 0. They may get some bullets to penetrate the body and the wings of the Warthog, but I doubt they would bring it down. I'm not even sure they could hit it. So the Warthog flies, gets a radar lock or whatever he's using, a laser or whatever. He could be using infrared at night. He puts his gun on the go-fast boats. He squeezes the trigger and, 10, 20 rounds come out. And a few of those rounds hit the go-fast boat. Yeah, you'll probably kill some crew, but you'll stop the boat from moving if you don't sink it. So these Warthogs are rather deadly. Okay? They're not bombers, and they're not used to engage other aircraft. And there's a bunch of them in the Middle East now, and I think that's to take out the so-called Iranian Navy. Iran has many, many, many thousands of missiles in underground missile cities loaded into launchers, and they have to open up the top of the city, and the launchers start spitting out these missiles, and then they closed the top of the city, but America will have, and Israel will have a precise location on where these missile cities are once they start shooting. There's no doubt about that. And then they'll be targeted. And while they're underground, I don't believe that they're going to be substantially underground. You know, maybe as much as 60 or 100 feet at most, probably less. So you're going to need heavy ordnance. I've told you many times that Iran's best move now is a preemptive strike against America. Every day, more and more weapons or planes are coming into the Diego Garcia base. And they know it's for them as well as the Houthis. Iran has two proxies left, Iraq and Yemen. You might say they have the remnants of Hezbollah and Hamas left, but there's not much of them. Hezbollah is really afraid of Israel right now. They're not attempting to do too much against Israel because they're just going to get wiped out again. Iran does not want to see the Houthis get wiped out. Okay? Trump is trying quite hard to wipe them out. Any day now or any hour, you're going to start seeing Trump use the B-52s, the B-2s, and the B-1s on Yemen. The idea is to destroy their missile and drone inventory and their manufacturing facilities and their missile setups, launchers, and stuff like that, which they hide in caves and rough terrain. But when you start dropping heavy ordnance, you get different level of results, okay? The B-52 is a very coarse weapon, okay? Yeah, it can guide very accurate bombs, but it can carry very, very heavy bombs, which is a coarse weapon because the devastation is huge. And it can probably hold about 80, 500-pound bombs, as a guess. And they could just fly over a hill or a mountain that's full of Houthis and caves and just drop the whole load on the mountain. And then what's next? What mountain? Where'd the mountain go? So it's a coarse weapon, right? Israel's in a hurry to get into this fight too because Iran will do a preemptive strike against everybody. Sleeper agent deployment, Cuba, probably Venezuela, pretty likely. Whatever ships they have near America will also launch drones, missiles, whatever. See, when you see these idiots come up against Israel, everybody in Israel has a bomb shelter in a house. It's the law. And then on top of that, we have public bomb shelters in case you're out and about. And on top of that, we have tons of Iron Dome anti-missile systems, David's Sling, and the Arrow. Arrow 2, I think we're on. They're all over Israel, all over the place, plus THAAD and plus Patriot from America. But these things are all over, okay? And they're effective. Plus, we have our Navy ships doing takedowns off the coast. Near the Reds, they work the Red Sea area and they work the Mediterranean. The ships. Last night, a Navy ships attacked Lebanon on a targeted assassination using missiles. In the middle, okay. I'm thinking. Negotiations with Hamas are not going great, and I don't know how serious anybody is. They said they would give 5 living hostages out of, I think, 24 living hostages for 50-day or 60-day ceasefire.
In this video, we show you how you can find and see your Google password.
I'm just getting my live stream back. The idea is to just Missouri, huh? All right. Israel's going to be in this attack on Iran, but what I'm trying to tell you guys is this. Iran can attack America, homeland. You don't have Iron Dome batteries all over your country's borders. They're too big. When you go to Haifa and Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, you see anti-missile systems. Have you ever seen any around Los Angeles, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, New York, Boston, Chicago, Seattle, maybe Washington, D.C., you'll see them, but you don't see them. You guys don't have bomb shelters. Did I get through to you yet? Do you get it? I hope you get it, okay? And Trump and the Pentagon are well aware of the threat of a preemptive attack from Iran, who has no interest in negotiating with Trump. And Trump warns him, and then Iran warns Trump. Does Trump want to see Iran hit the military bases, sort of like Pearl Harbor in World War II? I couldn't answer that. I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe he needs that. To demolish Iran. I still think they'll hit the Houthis first, and when they hit the Houthis, Iran may do the preemptive strike on Diego Garcia, but that wouldn't work actually when you think about it, because the B2s, the B1s, the B52s, the refueling tankers would be in play off the base. So we could do it if they want to destroy the base and stop these planes from returning, and that would jam things up for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks with America to have to regroup. But I don't think Iran works that way. They're bloodthirsty. They'll hit when the planes are there. And the goal of them hitting is really and truly to make sure these planes don't attack them. Iraq is moving their missiles around. It's been reported by Israel. We picked it up from our reconnaissance flights. And what are they doing with them? Well, they were set up to attack Israel. They're not moving them to attack Israel. They're moving them to attack American bases near Iraq. They could probably hit Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Jordan bases. You know, that's enough. They're crazy. They're not as crazy as Iran or Yemen or Gaza, but they're pretty crazy. Venezuela hit America homeland. Cuba might do something. Iran may have ships close to America. They're not going to tell you, around the Caribbean and in the Gulf of Mexico. America's deploying an aircraft carrier in the Gulf of Mexico. See, for America to do serious coverage of the borders, the water borders, with aircraft carriers, they would need to have 3 or 4 on each coast. And they would probably need at least 2, I would say 3 in the Gulf. Because the Gulf extends all the way down, you know, with Florida, it's a big run. So I would say they would probably need to have 10 aircraft carriers deployed, which they have, but I don't believe they're deploying any within that amount. The Carl Vinson, maybe he'll be here by the weekend or on the weekend or something like that. Now, that might be something Trump is waiting for before he pulls the curtain up on the next act. Russia and Ukraine have both arrived at the conclusion that they both don't want a ceasefire. Trump said yesterday or the day before that if it comes out that there is no ceasefire because of Putin, but he did say that that may not be the case. It could be Zelensky's the problem. That he would put 25% second, I believe that was the figure he normally uses. So I assume it would be that. He would put 25% tariff on every nation that buys oil or gasoline from Putin, Russia. And Russia's not going to put up with that. France just moved heavy bombers to their border with Germany. Not that they're going to attack Germany, but they would get closer to attacking Russia, geographically closer. So Germany and the UK intend to put up to 30,000 troops, someplace between 15,000 and 30,000 troops inside Ukraine without a ceasefire. Many European countries are still giving weapons to Ukraine and budgeting for more weapons to go to Ukraine. And even America is still giving them weapons. And what Europe's fear is that if there is a ceasefire with Ukraine, it frees Russia up to go attack another country. Poland has been putting landmines on their borders between Belarus and Russia. So if you roll in, with tanks or whatever, you're going to get explosions going on. Another country in Europe, I think it was Latvia, maybe Lithuania, is also doing the same thing. Europe does not trust Putin one bit. Not at all. We're here. I mean, later today, it could happen. What do you think happens if Iran attacks all these bases and targets? What the heck do you think? I think the preemptive attack may be initially just Diego Garcia. I do not think that Iran could send their go-fast boats 2,000 some odd miles down to Diego Garcia. I don't know how in the heck they would give him enough fuel to get there and let alone return. So I don't see that. All I see them doing is launching long-range drones and missiles. Iran may attack American bases and Diego Garcia and America homeland if they could just go for broke. The important motivation here for Iran is to stop these heavy bombers in Diego Garcia, B-2s, B-52s, refueling tankers, and now B-1s, two B-1s, to stop them from destroying Iran. The nuclear facilities, weapons, military targets, warships, oil, refineries, pipelines. They don't want to see this get destroyed. So what they want to do is strike first, and they're not real bright, and their idea would be, we showed Trump what we can do. He won't dare attack us again. No, what they did is pour kerosene on the fire. The Iranians are screaming that Trump is violating international law by, bombing them and, putting sanctions on them and everything else. So, the UN, would they support Iran? I don't know. It's irrelevant, though. America has permanent veto power in the UN, so they can't do anything. They also said, Iran Supreme Leader said they would go after the UK as the same as America. I believe the UK has one base in Syria and possibly one in Iraq. The American bases in Iraq are going to be gone. Now, what I need to tell you is that they will try to take hostages, American military hostages, and negotiate with Trump that way. Trump may just take a position, we don't negotiate with terrorists, and just write the hostages off. Or he might say, let's drop 400 or 500 bombs on Iran or Iraq and see if they give up the hostages then. So they attack American bases lightly and then storm the Alamo, so to speak, and get in there. And with overwhelming odds, capture American soldiers and use them as hostages. I would expect it. China encircled Taiwan yesterday with a very large, or last night, a very large amount of naval vessels, I think 19, more than they ever did before. Plus, they have a Chinese aircraft carrier group near Taiwan as well. Now, I've told you this before. During the night, Taiwan finds out they're surrounded by 6 or 4 or 10 Chinese warships, and there's all kinds of Chinese aircraft, military aircraft, flying over their airspace. Okay? Iran must have set this up on Taiwan at least 30 times, 25, something like that. So they decondition the people in Taiwan not to get so upset when they get surrounded, because so many times it happens and they just leave. But are they going to leave this time? That'll give us a good indication about Iran. Okay? Now, if China hits Taiwan, North Korea will reflexively hit South Korea. Japan will start fighting for South Korea and Taiwan. The Philippines has a lot of strategic value. Australia will send warships into the area to attack China. China's not going to bother running out to Australia. They'll figure they could do that later on at their leisure. And you have a big Middle East war, a big Asia Pacific war. Russia hits Ukraine harder with Belarus this time. And they hit Poland, maybe Romania, maybe Lithuania, Latvia, I don't know. And Iran's attacking in the Middle East, and America doesn't know what to do. It's a mess. You got a mess here. And I don't see it going away. I just see it escalating, and I don't know when it's going to escalate. It could be today. I don't think Iran wants to wait. They don't want to watch the Houthis get wiped out by these big bombers. The small jets coming off of fighter aircraft are causing damage to the Houthis, but they're not able to get down into the ground and get the underground facilities and the stuff in the caves and the mountains and the rougher terrain. And the heavier bombers that are in Diego Garcia are going to be used for that. And I don't think Iran is looking forward to it because they're going to lose their one of their last proxies. Their last proxies are Iraq and Yemen. That's all they got. All they got left. Take a look at the chat. Yeah, April 2nd is when the Trump tariffs start on many countries. You're right about that. You're right about that. Trump is saying he's going to go visit Putin in about a month, but I'll see it when I believe, when I see it, I'll believe it. He probably will. I mean, I think Putin and him actually get along as two people, but I don't think they see eye to eye or have any agreements about how, either one should behave material, with politics and foreign policy. I don't think they have any agreement about that. But, I don't know. Putin could be shining on Trump knowing there's going to be big attacks. If Russia, Belarus, it would be probably Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Kurdistan, and some other countries start lighting up Europe while Trump's further embedded in the Middle East, and then North Korea and China start lighting up the Asia-Pacific theater. America gets attacked at home, sleeper agents and so forth. They're not going to make it. They can't sustain everything coming at them at once. They can't. Canada is the politicians are so mad at Trump. I think it's likely they would let China, Russia, North Korean troops enter Canada to get to them, to get to America. Greenland just banned Trump from visiting. And he's telling us one way or another we're going to have Greenland. Which means even if I got to just go there with the military and occupy it. You think Denmark wouldn't let Russia or another country use Greenland as a jumping off point to attack America? You think Mexico won't let Russia and China and North Korea use Mexico to come into America? The drug cartels in Mexico are the government. You must understand that. They're one and the same. If you're a real, true, blue anti-drug cartel candidate for presidency in Mexico, you're going to be dead. Well, they have drug efforts, but they're directed against the lone wolf drug cartel, 30 or 40 guys that smuggle drugs and aren't supporting the government. Just, random gangs. They're not going to be billionaires, but, they can make themselves $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a month. Buy a lot lot of jewelry, buy a lot of cars, buy a lot of drugs, ranches, the stupid stuff, not the cartels that want to control the Congress, the president, the courts. That, there's a difference, huge difference. These people are making many billions monthly. Trump may be afraid to just bomb Iran because he doesn't have a declaration of war from Congress. So he may be just sitting out there hanging out in the breeze, waiting for Iran to attack American bases. And then he doesn't need a declaration of war. Which has to go through Congress. He doesn't need that. That could absolutely be what Trump's doing. Let me check my notes and see what I didn't tell you, what I forgot to tell you. Egypt now is very mad about Israel's very mad about Egypt having over 100,000 soldiers with tanks and artillery and building fortifications in the Sinai Peninsula, violating the Camp David Accords. And I'm sure Trump knows he's supposed to protect against that. Now that's part of the siege. We have a border with Egypt in the Sinai Peninsula. That's part of the Zechariah 12th siege, as is Hamas, in a way, and Hezbollah in Lebanon in a way, and Syria in a way. We don't have a border with Iraq or Iran or Yemen. Technically, not even with Saudi Arabia, although it's just a little tiny distance away from the area of a lot, but the general area near a lot. So Iran is also threatening to strike Israel, which is causing Netanyahu to want a more rapid strike on Iran to, destroy many of their weapons. They're not going to start with the nuclear facilities. Maybe they will for political reasons, but at the same time, they got to hit radar and missile launch sites and airports, military airports, Navy ships. They got a lot of targets. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and I believe Bahrain made a public statement that they would not assist America in any way, shape, or form of anything involving attacking Iran, but they lie. I'm not believing it. Several C-17 big cargo planes landed in Qatar yesterday, which is very likely bringing in anti-missile missiles to help Qatar protect. Qatar is not a nice country. The way they act, I mean, they're very deceitful, liars, backstabbers. The Houthis made a claim that they took down a Hawkeye aircraft over the Red Sea. America denied it, and I believe America's telling the truth. They did get down another Reaper drone, number 16. The Houthis took down 16 of these. Indonesia had what was reported a 6.0 earthquake yesterday, and Saudi Arabia had a 4.2, which isn't much, but you're going to feel the 4.2. You feel it enough to scare you. Okay, I got some toss requests. First one's for E.C. Edward Charlie. E.C. Edward Charlie, toss. J.K. Jack Kilo. J.K. Jack Kilo. J.K. toss. S.J. Sam Jack. S.J. Sam Jack. S.J. toss. G.K. Girl Kilo. G.K. Girl Kilo. G.K. General healing for G.K. P.C. Papa Charlie. P.C. Papa Charlie. So GK, general healing, and now PC. The prayer for PC, Papa Charlie, is to pray for better blood pressure, pain to go away, general healing, and to get a scheduled medical test earlier. I'll repeat this. This person's having some serious issues, okay? PC, Papa Charlie, PC. Pray for better blood pressure, lower blood pressure, the pain to go away, general healing of the body, and also that a scheduled medical test gets moved up sooner, okay? Let me see if I'm getting questions. What a lot of people in America don't understand is that, Iran has missile launching boats that are rebuilt container ships, and they got a large amount of missile launchers, and they carry a large amount of missiles. And they get near American international waters and launch. You don't have takedown missiles like Iron Domes around your borders. You got a certain amount of Navy warships offshore that'll try to take them down. They'll really try hard and they'll take some down. But it just depends how much gets launched. They got drone ships with hundreds of drones. They do swarm attacks, missiles and drones at the same time. With the exception of a small amount of warships in the waters, you're not going to be able to take these down. They're going to land and kill people and blow stuff up. Iran also said they're going to go after the UK as being responsible because the UK has been helping America. Iran's going to have a challenge getting to Israel unless they brought advanced rockets into Iraq where they could go into Iraq by land. It's very hard to figure out what they're up to. They'll take a fruit truck or an egg truck and fill it up with missiles out of underneath the produce, or put stuff. They can put stuff in a bus or a closed truck. It's easy to get stuff into Iraq. We'll immediately take out the Iraqi radar and their missile launchers. It's a mess. And I don't think, it's going to wait very long. Trump or Khomeini is going to throw the first punch. And then it's going to break out. So here we are. Now, let's take a look at Zechariah 12, which is really where we're headed, okay? Zechariah 12:1. The burden of the word of Jehovah for Israel. Jehovah which stretcheth forth the heavens and layeth the foundations of the earth and formeth the spirit of man in him. Behold, this is God talking. It says ani, it means I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling. That means they're so scared they're shaking. Unto all the people round about, that means they're surrounding us, like a blockade, like what China's trying to do to Taiwan, something like that. But we're not an island, so it doesn't work that with ships like that, okay? Taiwan's an island. Round about when they shall be in the siege, both against Judah and against Jerusalem. Now, the word for siege, Judah and Jerusalem is the land we have now, basically. 4692 Strong's number. It's an entrenchment, an enclosure, get you to fastness, fence in type of thing, okay? So it's a surrounding, a blockade, if you will. It's not an invasion. And in that day, you see, there's a day, and this appears to me to be the day of vengeance. In that day will I make Yerushalayim, that's what it's really pronounced as, a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone. For all people, all that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people, all the goyim, all the heathen of the earth, or it could mean the land of Israel, probably a little of both, I guess, be gathered together against it. Okay? Gathered together word. Let's check that out. 622 in Strong's Asaph. Gather. The together, I think they added in. Gather. Again, gather is not the same thing as an invasion. See, Elijah's there, as you'll see quickly in a few lines down. And so is Apostle John, the two witnesses. And Elijah is training the Levites. That's in Malachi 3 and 4. And you'll see it in Zechariah 12. You'll see the two witnesses very quickly in a few minutes. Okay. You'll see the scriptures depicting them. Okay. So they're scared. Elijah's training the Levites. The next temple is there, which comes down from heaven, by the way. Read Ezekiel 37. If you guys think I'm crazy and I'm a false teacher, listen to this. I invite you to toss the demons out of me. Be my guest. I don't have any demons. I don't care. It has no effect. There's nothing to toss out of me. Go for it. Do you see anybody else on the internet or in the church world that ever tell the people that? You never do. But I invite, the important thing is I invite you to do it, okay? I invite you to do it, to throw the unclean spirits out of me in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. And there's no one else doing that. I wonder why. Why do you think? Okay, verse 4, Zechariah 12. In that day, saith Jehovah, I will smite every horse with astonishment. Now, the word for horse is a sus. It can mean the bird, the swallow, or the horse, like, the horse, horsey with saddles, right? Okay, a sus is a flying thing. So if back then, thousands of years ago, the scriptures read, I will smite every aircraft with astonishment, it could have changed the time frame of history with this invention of aircraft. It could have just been confusing and nobody would have known what in the world it meant. So he used the word sus, which can mean a swallow, which can mean a flying thing, right? Okay. With astonishment. And that word is 8541. Bewilder, consternation, confusion, type of thing. And his rider, that could be the pilot, with madness. I don't think they're going to come on millions of horses. Not seeing that. I could be surprised, but I don't think so. And maybe, but I don't see it. And I will open my eyes upon the house of Judah. Now that's when we slide into home plate, so to speak. Not literally, but and will smite every horse of the people with blindness. So he's basically referencing horses and their rider. Could be an airplane and a pilot. And then it says in the King James in verse 5, and the governors of Judah. The word for governors really means judge. Israel was ran by judges for many, many years in the past, rather well, too. Not always well, but it worked well for a pretty good amount of time. So I would call it the judges of Judah. And judges are prophets, and we got two prophets coming, Elijah and Apostle John, and that's it. I'm going to develop that further for you in a minute. Shall say in their heart, the judges of Judah shall say in their heart that the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength. And it doesn't say that. It's the inhabitants of Jerusalem's strength is in the Lord of hosts, their God. So there's a lot of believers in Jerusalem at this time. In that day, the same day, the day of vengeance, I think, which closes out the year of recompenses, and then we go right into year of redemption, I believe, right away. I don't see there being a gap. Should be right away. In that day will I make the judges of Judah like an earth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf. Now, who do you know that has fire coming out of their mouth but the two witnesses? It ain't Netanyahu and Trump, okay? Like an earth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf. And they shall devour all the people round about, on the right hand and on the left, and Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even Jerusalem. So what it's really saying is Jerusalem shall still be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem. What it really is saying is remain still in her place, even. Nothing happens to Jerusalem. That's the concept the Lord's trying to pass on. Now I'm in verse 7. Jehovah also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. Basically, what you have here in these days since 1948 is predominantly people from the tribe of Judah and the Levites and a little bit of Benjamin. Okay? In that day, there it is again, shall Jehovah defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David. Feeble means old people that totter about, could hardly walk, canes, hunched over. They're going to be like David, who killed Goliath, who killed the bear, who killed the lion, who was a great warrior. So what's going on here? Wait for it. You'll see. The house of David shall be as Elohim, God, as the angel of the Lord before them. That's Michael, the angel that was with him in the wilderness with Moses and Aaron. And he killed, I don't know, something like 140,000 in one day. That's how the house of David's going to be? What's going on? I continue. Zechariah 12:9. And it shall come to pass in that day, the day of vengeance, that I will seek to destroy all the heathen nations that come against Jerusalem. Now listen to this. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication. So now these people, the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, just had Jehovah's Spirit poured out on them. So now they're believers. How could you not be a believer after he pours his Spirit out on you? Of course they're believers. And then what happens? And they, the same people, Jerusalem, house of David, shall look upon me whom they have pierced. Remember, they stuck a spear in his side and water and blood came out when they crucified him? That's the one who they pierced, Yeshua. And they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son. They never mourned for him when they killed him like roughly 2,000 years ago. They shall mourn as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. It's obviously Yeshua. In that day shall there be a great mourning in Jerusalem. There was no mourning, a great mourning, it says in the next verse. The tribes of Israel all mourned for Yeshua. They're mourning because the Spirit was poured out on them. They saw him, they realized it was Yeshua, and they had him killed by the Romans. They killed their own Messiah. They killed the Son of God. So they're mourning. They feel miserable. You're not going to be mourning. If you're in Yeshua HaMashiach for real, not just because you're a member of a church or something, you're in Israel. And he refers to you as his brethren, so come on, you're in Israel. So where is all this coming from? Well, first of all, let's talk about a siege. So Egypt's all in place for the siege in the Sinai Peninsula, so nothing's going to get in or get out. People aren't going to get in or get out. Okay? Gaza in the south it's a siege there, basically. Lebanon in the north is a siege. On the east, you have Syria. You can't really walk through Syria. You can't really go walk through Saudi Arabia, which is near a lot. Iraq has no border with us, neither does Iran, neither does Turkey. And then you have Jordan, which will fall into place too. There you go. The siege is almost ready. Okay, the siege is about done. I think they'll hit America first. And I don't know exactly if Elijah's going to start working first before America gets hit or right after. But I believe the reason they're so scared and trembling when they're surrounding Jerusalem and Judah is because of Elijah and Apostle John doing miracles, and they don't know what to expect. Plus, this next temple comes down from heaven. Ezekiel 37, I show it to you. Verse 26, the last three verses. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them, Israel. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them. And I will place them and multiply them and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. Okay, it says, I will place them. The word for place is Natan in Hebrew. You would pronounce it in English Nathan, but there's no TH sound in Hebrew, so it's Natan. I will place that word Natan 54:14. And then it says, will set my sanctuary in the midst of them. Well, the word for that is mikdash. It's It's the temple. The tabernacle is Mishkan, this is Mikdash. But the word for set is Natan, the same word as place when he talks about placing us here in the land. So that's, of course, your next great Exodus. So why don't we read it? And will place my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. There you go. Now, the next verse in 27 says, Mishkan, which is the tabernacle. Mishkan, tabernacle, also shall be with them. Okay? We're going to have that also. And I will be their God, their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Amen. Now, verse 28 sort of tells us more. And the Goyim, the heathen, shall know that Ani, Yehovah, I, Yehovah, do Kadosh, make holy, not sanctify, although it's a close word, holy Israel. When my sanctuary, when my temple shall be in the midst of them for evermore. The midst is the middle, that's Jerusalem, middle of Israel. So the heathen know that know that Jehovah made Israel holy when he puts his temple in the midst of them forevermore. Because this temple comes down from heaven. I know they don't teach this. We've already had Solomon's temple, Zerubbabel's temple, and Herod's temple. The next temple is number 4. And that is not New Jerusalem. It says regarding New Jerusalem in Revelation 21 that there is no temple in New Jerusalem. There's no need. So let me help you with a few things. So they look upon Yeshua, right? Now, this is the stuff that you should be getting taught, and you're not. And you could draw your own conclusions why they're not teaching you this. And they're not telling you, hey, I give you my permission. It's very important if you're going to challenge the teacher or the pastor to say, will you give us your permission for us to throw the demons out of you? And see what they say. Um, 1 John 3:2. Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it does not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. Zechariah 12:10, I'll refresh your memory. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem. So now they're believers. The spirit of grace and of supplications. Okay. Then it says, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn. So they see Yeshua, boom, they get changed. They have what? They have everlasting life. It's not eternity. It's not a spiritual body. It means olam. It means that the time in their life is very far into the future, like an indeterminate period. You read this about this time in the scriptures, my people's days shall be like that of a tree. A child shall die 100. They shall run, and even children get tired running. They won't get tired. But let's read John 6:40. And then you need to ask yourself why these people aren't teaching this to you. Because it's so blessed. Remember, I'm reading this to you out of scriptures. I'm not talking about dreams and visions, and I'm not talking about extra biblical books, John 6:40, and this is the will of him that sent me, that everyone which seeth the Son and believeth on him, remember he poured the Spirit out on him first, and believeth on him, may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. They get that everlasting life. It's like before the flood, they lived over 900 years. But all you got to do is make it into New Jerusalem and drink of the water of life and eat of the tree of life, and there's no death in New Jerusalem. Okay? And that's 70 years from now. Well, let's go to Revelation 1:7, and then I'll do the 7 years with you. Revelation 1:7. Behold, he cometh with clouds. That's Yeshua appearing in the clouds. The sign of the Son of Man. Not to return to earth. And every eye shall see him. The whole earth is going to see him. The earth is flat, by the way. Remember the angels standing on the four corners of the earth? How do you stand on the four corners of a round golf ball shaped earth? You can't. The earth doesn't move, and it has foundations, and it's not spinning, it doesn't move. Okay. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they which pierced him, that's right out of the one whom they have pierced, that's right out of Zechariah 12:10, pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth, that really is saying all tribes of the land, which would be Israel, Haaretz, shall wail, that's a form of mourning, because of him, even so, amen. So the believers, wherever they are also going to see him and get changed. The real believers, this is not a rapture. And the tribes of Israel, all the tribes of Israel are going to see him and get changed. And that's why you read in Jeremiah 31, they shall all know him from the least to the greatest. They no longer go around saying, know the Lord, they shall all know him. And he puts the law in their heart and their inward parts. It's all different. And where they mess with you is in Daniel 9:24. They tell you it means 70 weeks. It doesn't. The word for weeks is the same word as 70, shavim. It's completely identical. Okay? And it can't mean weeks. It means 70. There's 270. Shavim, shavim. On the people and the holy city, on Israel and Jerusalem. And he calls it the holy city. Is Jerusalem a holy city today? No. But after Yeshua appears, it's a holy city. Because the people will be holy, kadosh. And the people will be shining, Isaiah 60. Arise, shine, your light has come, the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. Darkness shall cover the earth, gross darkness the people. Isaiah 61, shine means emanate forth light. Like when Moses was on Mount Sinai and he came down and he was glowing and they had to put a veil over his head. But the veil comes off, and then what happens when you take the veil off of Moses? Moses' veil comes off. What happens? He glows. What happens to Israel when the veil comes off them because they see their Messiah in the sky, seated on the right hand of Father God Jehovah? That's refers to as seated at the right hand of power. What happens when the veil comes off? They glow. What happens when Yeshua appears? They glow. They emanate forth life. Isaiah 60, verse 1. Do you see it? Why is Yeshua seated at the right hand of power, God the Father? Because Psalm 110:1 says, the Lord said to my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. When Yeshua appears in the clouds, his enemies are not yet his footstool. That happens at the, pretty much at the end of the Gog and Magog and the tribulation, which ends apparently at about the same time or the same time. I know they don't teach this, but it's all in your Bible. So the word is Shavim, it means 70. So what happens, the first 70 was the Babylonian captivity, 70 years precise. The next 70 is 70-year period of time. It starts with the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man, which will be preceded by the moon turning to blood, as per Joel chapter 2, and the sun going dark. And then when Yeshua returns to come to earth with New Jerusalem down the road, 70 years, what happens? The moon turns dark, not to blood. This is all in Joel 2. And the sun goes dark, and the stars fall from the sky like figs from the tree. They don't get their light. That's when Yeshua returns to earth in Revelation 19, riding on a white horse with a double-edged sword coming out of his mouth, with his garments stained red, and coming with millions of angels on their horses, probably with their destroying weapons and swords, whatever, as well. But that is not Zechariah 12. That comes after the 70 years. So Gog and Magog will be over at the end of the 70 years. When was Yeshua born? Roughly, I don't know, 1 AD? How could you say he was born 1 after that? He was born like at 0, or something like that. When was Jerusalem destroyed? 70 AD. That sounds like 70 years also. So maybe it's not Babylon. Maybe it's they had Yeshua. Briefly. 3.5-year ministry, they say. Maybe it was 2.5 years, because we don't see that many Passovers during his ministry. So it could have been 2.5 years, or 2 years or something. I think the Lord just showed me this. And then it ran about 70. Yeah, let's take a look at when they think Yeshua was born. Now, do they know? Well, they try, some of them. Some of them try to confuse. Some of them are confused. And some of them really try. Let's see. Boy, this is a good one. I like this. When was Jesus born? If I say Yeshua, I won't get any results. You see, they're all screwed up. A lot of them say his birth date is 6 to 4 BC. How could this be? BC means before Christ. So he was born 4 to 6 years before himself. Do you see how stupid they are? I mean, this is like idiota, Michigana, lunatico. They should be the supreme leaders of Iran with logic like this. Yes, they did have a 70-year period in Babylon. It could mean both things, but it says the second 70. And I think the first 70, now that I'm looking at it, see, Babylonian captivity, they weren't believing in the Messiah. These were people that went to Babylon that feared God, and he told them, get out of Israel, go to Babylon, you'll be well treated, have children, don't worry, it's not going to be bad. You're going to have food, you'll be okay, don't worry about it, right? So they weren't locked up in prison. They weren't enslaved, stuff like that. But they didn't have their homeland, and the soldiers were telling them, sing us songs about Israel. It's in the Bible. They didn't want to do it, but they did, and it made them feel bad. And all that. Okay. But that's not it. They had a so-called visitation. So just picking a word here, right? Yeshua was born of the Holy Spirit, Ruach HaKodesh, and a woman from the right lineage, of course. Her name's not Mary, it's Miriam. But you want to call her Mary, we know what you mean, right? Okay. And, I would say he was probably born around 0. You see, when they said AD and BC, they don't have a 0 year. They don't have 0 to 1 to the end of the first year. Let's say he really was born around 0. That's when it starts. How could he be born in 6 years before Christ? Pull my hair out. People listen to this and they believe it. Let's say it was 0, because Jerusalem got wiped out in 70 AD. Gee, we got a 70. Let's put it together. Did they see Yeshua in the flesh? They did. Did they see him as he was? They did. Did they see him do a massive amount of miracles and signs, like raising the dead, curing the lepers, walking on water, all sorts of stuff? Did they not? They did. Did they hear and see all the teachings, the true gospel? They did. He died around 33 years after he was born, okay? Let's not fall into their ADBC, or now they call ADCE. They're always trying to confuse you. Let's say, so we got a nice 70-year run here. They were exposed to the Son of God. They saw him in the temple. They saw him on the Mount of Olives. They saw him in the villages. They saw him walking around. They saw him with the loaves and the fish. They saw him strolling across the Sea of Galilee on the surface of the water. Right? And they were given 70 years from the time Yeshua came to them till they got wiped out. Now, it could also still be the 70 years of Babylon. I don't believe that Yeshua was starting his ministry around the year 0, but you know what? Maybe he was, and they twisted it. Who the heck knows? But in any event, it was 70, the year 70, it was destroyed, and that's a bit of a coincidence. So they didn't have 70 years with Yeshua, but maybe they did have 70 years with Yeshua. But he was only really active for about 2 years, 2.5. With the signs and wonders and the anointing. But he was also going, remember when his family left him behind in Jerusalem and they had to go back and look for him, and he was in the synagogue explaining to the rabbis what the Bible really means. That's what he was doing, and they were marveling at his knowledge because he was a young guy. He wasn't of age yet. I don't know, what was he, 8, 9, 10, 11? You tell me, I don't know. And then he told his mother, don't you know I have to be about my father's business? So they had him before, say, 33 AD or 30, whatever it was, right? Just the Holy Child being in a crib over there. Well, he did have to go to Egypt for a while. But maybe that's it, though. Maybe it's both. But in Babylon, they would they were just obedient enough to the Lord to leave. They weren't really getting enlightened by anybody over there. The prophets were prophesying to them, but that was it. So it probably lends itself more to the 70 years. So they're going to have 70 years. They're going to know who Yeshua is. They're going to have everlasting life. God's going to put the law in their heart. They're all going to know him. They're going to glow. And they're going to have a trial period, because the lost tribes are also going to get this everlasting life. And the Israelis running around here. Now, 2/3 of the ones running around Israel will be cut off dead. That's in Zechariah 13, which continues with Zechariah 12, 8 verses 8 and 9. And you also read it in Malachi 4. So they're going to have that. Now, what happened before Yeshua appeared, going back to that, who was unveiled? Who was wearing a rough robe like a sackcloth with a big belt and was living in the wilderness until he had his unveiling, and he even baptized Yeshua. His name was Yochanan the Baptist, John the Baptist. Got his head cut off, sadly. He was unveiled before Yeshua really kicked into gear with the signs and wonders, where everybody knew who he was, wasn't he? He was preparing the way for Yeshua then. He was preparing the way for Yeshua's earthly ministry. He was baptizing the people, speaking repentance. He had the spirit of Eliah, or Elijah in English. If you want to do it in Hebrew, Eliah HaNavi. Elijah the Navi, prophet. There's a prophet. He's not an apostle. Is Apostle John an apostle and a prophet? Yes. Yes, of course. Apostle John, an apostle. And he's also a prophet. Remember, he's told, you must prophesy many days to many nations and tongues and people. He hasn't done that yet, but he will. Probably while Elijah is teaching the Levites, maybe. I don't know. We'll find out very shortly. But so Elijah will be unveiled, and he will be teaching the Levites how to make the offerings acceptable unto the Lord. That's very clear, plain, and obvious in Malachi 3. And then the blessings of the Lord will come on Israel, and that's probably when he burns up all the enemies with Apostle John surrounding them, and that's the day of vengeance, which is associated with the year of recompenses and the year of redemption. And then when Yeshua appears, boom, that's our redemption. We kick into redemption, and then we have 70 years till Yeshua comes back to earth, and we will go through another phase. There will be a falling away. Will it be after 10 years or 20 years? I think it'd probably be at least 40 years. There's going to be a real nice rest period for all the true believers and the Israelites in Israel, for I would say at least a generation. And do I think we need it? Yeah, I do. I'm all for it. But that's gonna have the time for the gospel spread all around the world. Then they're going to be a falling away. Will it be a 40 years, 50 years, 60 years? My guess probably in the 60-some years. It'll stir up for a while. There'll be famine. And then you get into Gog and Magog. Okay? It may even be 67 years or something like that, It may take quite a while. When they got destroyed, let me tell you this. When they destroyed Jerusalem, the Romans, in 63 AD, there was a big fight, and some of them got killed and all that. And they had a period of 3.5 years, and then it got worse. So there was a break at the 3.5 years. So that's 7 years. So if we're talking a second 70, and I'm going to take a wild guess based on not much more than what I just told you, it's a guess and I could be wrong. Did I say I could be wrong? Yes, and it may not be real, but it's a thought. In around the year 63, after he appears, we'll probably have the falling away begin. As a guess. Now, when you go back to saying, oh, Yeshua was born in 0, when they were calculating the years, what kind of years were they using? Were they using 12 months, 30-day months, 360-day years, which is the year God uses? God doesn't use Pope Gregory's year. He doesn't use the Talmudic rabbi's years. He uses his years. So that's another reason. Okay. If you're going to have Yeshua born, and you can't put him in AD because he didn't die yet, and you can't put him in BC because how could he be born before he existed on Earth? You got year 0. Does that make sense? How do you go north and south on a round volleyball or basketball shaped Earth? Because if you go north enough, you're going south. And if you go east enough, you're going west. It makes no sense. On a flat Earth, it makes sense. So let me go through I probably gave you a whole lot of material, more than a lot of you thought you were going to get today. Let me peek into the live stream and make sure I don't have questions. And let's see what we got. Container ships are easy target, though. I agree. Even Coast Guard could reach out. Yes. But you got to know they're there, and that, I agree with you. It's a very easy target, but you need to have, a Coast Guard, if it has an artillery piece on it, it's probably a 3-inch gun. I think you need an 8-inch gun to start, and you'd probably have to get 3 or 4 hits to bring the thing down quickly, as a guess. We got a hater here. They hate old people. So what I tell these people that hate old people is they should consider the logic in praying that God kills them when they're young. That might wake them up. Okay. We go to Isaiah 34, verse 8. Now, it shouldn't be my job to teach you this. It should be the church's job, but they don't do their job, do they? Let's read it. Isaiah 34, verse 8. This is the word that came unto Jeremiah. I'm sorry, I'm in Jeremiah. Wrong book. I got very big fingers and the iPad is kind of small. Okay, 34:8. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses. See, there's a year of recompenses, a payback to the nations. Over what? For the controversy of Zion, for not letting us have our land back. Trump wants to do what with Gaza? Give it to Israel because it's our land from the Euphrates to the Nile? It definitely is. God gave it to us by covenant in Genesis 15, sort of towards the end of the chapter. No, he wants to take it for America. You think God's pleased with that behavior? I don't. Isaiah 63, probably verse 4. Could be 3. Let's go with 4. Got it. For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. So the year of redemption seems to come right after the day of vengeance, which appears to be the closing out of the year of recompenses. That's the day of vengeance. That's when they get it. But what you need to wake up to is what also happens over there that they never teach. And I'm not going to dwell on this as I have a million times. Isaiah 30, verse 11. Sorry, I'm mixing Jeremiah 30, verse 11. For I am with thee, saith Jehovah, to save thee, though I make a full end of all goyim nations, all heathen nations, whither I have scattered thee. Yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. Is that the only place in the Bible this appears? Of course not. Jeremiah 46:28. See, you should throw the demons out of these teachers. Make it a standard operating procedure, and you won't have these liars running around teaching people false. Fear thou not, O Yaakov, or Jacob, my servant, saith Jehovah, for I am with thee, for I will make a full end of all the nations, the heathen nations, whither I have driven thee, but I will not make a full end of thee, but correct thee in measure. Yes, I will not leave thee wholly unpunished. So, how many nations did God scatter the Israelites into over the many centuries? Well, if we go to Amos 9, verse 9, we get a little bit of insight here, a lot of insight. For lo, I will command and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, all heathen nations, like as corn is sifted in a sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. So he sifts the Israelites into all the nations. God only counts 70 nations, but he sifts them into all the nations. So that is what I got for today. Please pray that I get the MacBook running correctly, and please pray I get the Samsung phone and the tablet running correctly, and pray the tablet shows up today. That'd be nice. Pray for the peace of Yerushalayim. Pray for better videos, that God shows us more and more things from prophecy. But I think today was fantastic, and I thank him for it. And you should. Why not thank him? Got a good reason why you shouldn't thank him? I don't. Pray for me and my wife for our peace, safety, protection, and joy. Pray we have good doctrine and don't make mistakes. That'd be an important prayer. Pray me and my wife have good doctrine and don't make mistakes or errors. Pray for our finances and our healing and recuperative strength. Pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole, and not get into fights with each other or the wrong people or animals. And what else? That's about it. And I send my shalom. You know what? I'm a Cohen. I'm a descendant of Aaron. Let's do the priestly blessing on everybody. And we'll do it for real against. We'll do it for everybody watching this as a video or a live stream. And the priestly blessing, where do we find that? I think number 617. No, further down, I think. Yeah, it's 22. It starts in number 622. Now, I'm going to be doing this for real. I'm in the land of Israel where the Lord says he accepts you, and that's found in Ezekiel 20, beginning in verse 33. You'll read it, first 3 or 4 verses, 5 verses. I have the Holy Spirit. I pray in tongues. I'm a Levite and also a descendant of Aaron. And here we go. We're going to do this for real for all those watching it as a video or as a live stream. And Jehovah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons. So I am a son of Aaron, but many generations removed, but still a son of Aaron. Saying, On this wise you shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, here we go. Jehovah bless thee and keep thee. Jehovah make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Jehovah will lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee shalom, give thee peace. And I put the name Jehovah upon the children of Israel, and Jehovah will bless them. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Do all things in the name of Yeshua. The rabbis don't do that, but this Levite, this Kohanim, this priest does it in the name of Yeshua. So your bases have all been covered here. That's the right way. Praise Jehovah. Praise Yeshua. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach and his father Jehovah. And make sure you subscribe, because I'm going to do a lot of live stream updates when the eggs start going into the fan, okay? Which could be today. How long do you think Iran's going to wait for their preemptive attack? Until they see B-52s dropping 80 bombs per plane out of the sky? Come on. They ain't the brightest people in the world, but they're not that stupid. Okay, I'm out. I hope you got something out of this. And that's it for today. So far, I never know what the day's going to bring.